Welcome to Analyst Talk with Jason Elder. It's like coffee with an analyst, or it could be whiskey with an analyst reading a spreadsheet, linking crime events, identifying a series, and getting the latest scoop on association news and training. So please don't beat that analyst and join us as we define the law enforcement analysis profession one episode at a time.
Thank you for joining me. I hope many aspects of your life are progressing. My name is Jason Elder, and today our guest has 11 years of law enforcement analysis experience, all as the Crime and Intelligence Analyst with the City of Spokane Police Department. She holds a Crime and Intelligence Analysis certificate from California State University in Sacramento. She is a former board member of NORCAN, Northern Regional Crime Analyst Network. She's here to talk about, among other things, the recent NORCAN conference. Please welcome Jaime Lamanna. Jaime, how are we doing?
Great, thank you.
How are things in Washington these days?
It's starting to get sunny, so so that's good.
Yeah, so are you finally past the winter, or do you think you're still worried that there still might be a storm ahead?
We could definitely still get some snow. It was 80 degrees the other day. That does not mean that snow is still not around the corner. So.
Oh man, yeah. So you get the full array of seasons up there in Washington.
Yes, we do.
But beautiful, beautiful country up there. So it's awesome. All right. So how did you discover the law enforcement analysis profession?
So I was in school for a criminal justice degree, and I knew that I wanted to do something for law enforcement, but I wasn't 100% sure if that meant to become a cop or if there was something else I could do. And throughout school, I was required to do an internship. And I got an internship with the Spokane Police Department. And originally they had me doing some spreadsheets for time and just keeping track of some people's like volunteer hours and stuff. And they ran out of work for me to do. And so they sent me over to crime analysis, and I had no idea what that was or what I was getting into. And luckily I was welcomed by some more seasoned crime analysts that were already working for the department. And I kind of fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. So I finished my internship and kind of was hoping for a job, but they weren't really hiring. And I think it was close to a year later, actually, that I had gotten a phone call, and they were looking for a temp seasonal employee with our crime analyst department. And I was like, absolutely. So I came in as a temp seasonal for, I think, almost a year and a half. I was a temp seasonal before a full-time position opened up. That was a little bit harder to get into than I expected. The job requirement was 2 years of experience. And like I just told you, I had a year and a half of experience. Yeah. And so originally I wasn't qualified for the position that I was already working. And so that was hard. But I had some really, really great people behind me that were doing everything they could to get those qualifications kind of adjusted and changed. So after the list expired, the qualifications changed, and I was able to use my internship as experience. And so then I was able to get hired full time for the department.
Man, that's a journey in itself there. It always makes me smile, just people, different journeys to analysis. And it probably journey to any job, but there's so many people that are trying, they're applying, they know they want the analyst position, they're applying all over the country, and they finally land a spot somewhere in the country. And then there's some folks that are like you that stumbled on it. We're in the right place at the right time. We're patient. We're diligent. And just slowly took the opportunities that were in front of you to the point where, hey, it sounds like they went to bat for you a little bit
Yes.
and
Yeah, they did.
and got you that position. So that's just it shows that something that they obviously liked your work and enjoyed working with you, and it all paid off in the end.
Yes, it did. And you talking about that, I recently helped out an agency in Western Washington to do some interviews, and they had two candidates, one that's been in the crime analyst field for a long time and one that has never been in the field, but she's gone to trainings. She's a dispatcher. She would be an amazing hire.
Mhm.
I felt like their agency kind of needed someone that had experience, but I would hire her in a minute to come work with us where we already have analysts that could help train her. And so our agency is actually kind of taking on an approach here in the near future where we will have like a section of hirees where we can train them, and then a section for already experienced analysts.
So you have like a little bit of a bullpen?
There's going to be like kind of like different steps. So we would be able to hire someone who, let's say, like has been through like a bunch of trainings, but they might not have quite the experience, or we could hire someone. So we'll have like kind of options rather than your HR department being just looking at someone and saying, oh no, they're not qualified right off the bat with them. So
yeah, I've talked many a time on this show about the importance of internship. I benefited from the internship. It really jump-started my career. I got hired on right after I was done with my internship. Again, I had Joe Ryan on the show back in December. He went to bat for me, type of thing.
Oh.
So he is somebody that helped form my career. And so yeah, it's just one of those things that I think the internship gives you that foot in the door. People see you, people communicate with you, you build a rapport with, and it's more than just a piece of paper or information on an application or a resume.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So then on your resume, you have the internship, and as you said, there was a year gap in between that. So you were working at loss prevention specialist with J.C. Penney. And
yes.
I always like to talk to people who had that position, because there seems to be some awesome stories for those that work loss prevention specialists. So do you have a story or two in mind that you'd like to tell?
Yeah. So I did that for a little while after my internship, but I also kept doing it while I was a temp seasonal too. And I still sometimes like ask my husband, I'm like, hey, maybe just on Sundays I could go do loss prevention or something. But him and I were dating actually when I was doing loss prevention, and he hated it because every time he'd come like into the store or something, like I'd have to go wrestle someone to the ground and I'm not a big person. I'm 5 feet tall. I'm not. And so he would be like, I don't know what to do. Do I help you? Do I stand here? But so one of our favorite stories is I had followed this girl out of the store and identified myself and told her, and she's like, if you touch me, I'm going to poop my pants. And I was like, okay, that's fine, but you're still shoplifting. Like it's not. And she kept threatening me, and that was going to be her course of action. And so I put handcuffs on her, and we were walking back into the store, and she told me, she's like, well, I just pooped in my pants, and she definitely smelled like it. And I remember when the officers got there, I was like, this one you might just want to cite and release. Like, I don't think you want her in the back of your car. And so that was probably one of the more funny ones. Yeah. But it's definitely, I also had a young lady that we ended up in the middle of a busy street, and J.C. Penney, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have like a Sephora, which is like the makeup's kind of expensive. So you steal a dozen items and you're at that felony level offense. It was icy out. It was the middle of winter. We fell into the road and I'm trying to get handcuffs on her. And I have this man who stops his car and runs up and he's just like, ladies, please. And I was like, I'm a loss prevention officer. Like, she stole all this makeup from us. And he was like, well, I need to see your badge. As I'm on top of her, like physically trying to get her in custody. And I'm like, what? And so like, I'm like, well, it's in my back pocket. So he literally reached in my back pocket.
Oh, nice.
And took it out and then was like, oh, okay, now I'll help you.
So, at least he offered to help, right? He could have just like dropped it and then just got back in his car, right?
Right. Like, oh, okay. Or he could have taken the makeup, I guess.
Yeah. You could have been like, okay, yeah, this is good value right here for me. Oh man. So is it one of those things where you just saw them do it, or is there you saw them on camera or something like that? Something the triggers a spider sense into India that something's up.
So for a while, usually it would be like we didn't have a lot of cameras when I worked there.
Mm-hmm.
They do now. I'm really jealous when I go in there now. I'm like, I used to work here and this is so much better. You guys have it so easy. I get to be the old lady that's like, oh, back in my day.
Yep.
And so, but we would kind of just pretend like we were looking for items and I had a male partner at the time, so it was kind of easy for us to go around together, almost like a couple. And kind of then you just see people like put stuff in there. I mean, I still see it now. Like my husband says, like, I can't go anywhere with you because you always see someone shoplifting. And I just like, you just see them do it. And then as long as they didn't go into like a bathroom or a fitting room, then we were able to detain them at that point. So
there does seem to be so many different rules now. I mean, some I think stores don't even want you to put your hands on the person.
Right.
And then if you falsely accuse somebody, you're fired on the spot.
Yes.
I've heard you hear different stories or different policies from different stores, and it's obviously puts those employees at a bind. Like, what do you want me to do? Right? I'm not going to risk my job, but at the same time, this is going on. You want me to prevent it, this type of thing.
Yeah. And I think it's frustrating kind of from a law enforcement perspective as well, because it's like, oh, we're calling the police because we have shoplifters, but we didn't hey, can you put that back? Or we don't even customer service them anymore. Or some of the things that have been used before, it's just like, oh yeah, we just kind of wave at them as they walk out the door. And so I'm sure it's frustrating for the employees too. I can't even imagine working somewhere and being like, hey, thanks for stealing from us today. So I think I'm sure it's frustrating all the way around. But
yeah. All right. Let's get to your time here in Spokane. So starting out, finally got in there. You were a temp there. So I guess let's start there. The temp position, that sounds like something where they had a very specific task they needed done. And at least at the time felt that it wasn't something that they had a permanent need for, but there was a temp need for it. Was that the case?
I think that they just really needed more analysts, and that was the best way with their current funding to bring one on.
Okay. That
would be my guess. I don't know for sure. I wasn't like assigned like one specific task.
Oh, okay.
I had an area, which actually I still have the same area today. So
temp to permanent.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's obviously a variety of tasks that an analyst can do, and you're crime and intelligence analyst, so you definitely have a wide array based on your title. So what kind of things are you getting into?
I do. So our city is split. There's a river that runs just on the north side of our downtown area. So we're split up into everything north of the river is considered north. I grew up here and I grew up on the north side, and I can promise you, if you're a true north sider, you don't consider just short of the river the north side. But I do have everything. I encompass that whole area north of the river, and then we have another analyst who encompasses downtown and the south side. So a lot of what I do is I'm there. It's such a large area. So I help out with a lot of property crime, really, because there's obviously no shortage of property crime anywhere, I don't think. I'm currently on my 9th captain. I like to think that it's not me. But so going through 9 captains, my role changes every time that I get a new person in the door. And I usually have to train them.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you that. They'll tell you that I've trained them. So on like what we're going to do, but I would say it's been all the trends, right? Everything that trends. Like sometimes it's homeless camp analysis, sometimes it's property crimes. Right now I'm working on we've had quite a few shootings since Easter, so I've kind of shifted over to that. So there's just like a really big, it's very diverse.
I find it funny. I find it interesting. Well, 9 captains is, and if I'm roughly doing the math here, that's almost like a captain a year that you're
Just
going
about.
through.
Yep,
And
just about.
And it amazes me because I feel that certainly I went through that when I worked at a police department, and I get the idea that you're rotating through your leadership and giving people a opportunity, captains or major, an opportunity to rotate through all the different departments. I feel that that is not done. Maybe in the military it's done, but I feel that like everywhere else in society, you don't have this clear rotation. I mean, you
Right.
obviously may have transfers and you have people going, managers going here and there. So there is hierarchical shakeups, but not this rotating door
Right.
of people. And it's definitely not the point where you're training your manager, right?
Right.
Like that's definitely when I think when analysts come in for the first time and they're experiencing this stuff, it's like, wow, this is really odd that I'm getting a new captain once a year and I am having to train him or her.
Right.
With the property crime, do you feel that Spokane has any particular trend or pattern in property crime? Or I mean, it's obviously, as you mentioned, everybody has property crime issues, but I'm curious to know if there's something that may be unique to Spokane that you've heard that other areas don't have.
I mean, I think it's probably like fairly similar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we dealt with our fair share of Kia boys and just stealing cars for the fun of it. And
Is Kia Boys, what is Kia Boys?
oh, okay. So Kia boys is like it. I want to say it started as a TikTok trend, and Kias were very easily stolen. And so these kids that called themselves the Kia boys would go out and record themselves stealing Kias and wrecking them.
Oh.
And it was really popular for a while. I don't know if other agencies are still dealing with that. We have drastically dropped off, but kind of like any trend, I think it's on to the next one.
It seems to me somebody told me the old man elder is getting bad with his memory. It seems to me that there was something with, and I thought it was with Kia, where there was like a capability to start the car with like a USB. There was like a USB function to it.
So really they can do it within seconds. They just pop off the plastic piece, like where the ignition is on the steering column. And they could bring like a USB with them and plug it right in and start it up. But most people keep their phone chargers in their car and it plugs into the USB in their car. So they're essentially stealing your car with your own charger cable.
So they're not
So,
even they're not even bringing their own USB cable. They're just using the
right.
one that's in the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would be one of those things that I would be so excited as a kid to see it work. Like obviously stealing a car is wrong, wrecking a car, wrecking property that's not yours is wrong. But to see somebody tell you that like, hey, this can be done and you see it for the first time, like it would be wild. I would not believe that this was a thing. Like people could
Yeah.
start a car with a USB.
Right. Well, and like I want to say maybe like 5 or 6 years before that, it was Subarus with rake tines.
What?
Like all you had rake tines, like a rake, like a yard rake,
Oh.
like the metal tines in the rake.
Hmm.
You just stick it in where the key goes and you could start Subarus that way, like super fast.
It makes
So,
it makes me wonder, like, who came up with that? Like, who had the idea of
right.
like, hey, you know
I'm going to
what?
stick
Let's
this rake tine
yeah,
in
let's
here.
maybe some guys just down there like I'm sticking any just randomly stick stuff in the ignition of Subarus until it started, and they
Right.
finally ended up with a rake.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. All right, no, that's interesting. And then what's up with the shooting since Easter?
I most of it has really just been kind of the wrong people in the wrong place at the wrong time,
Mm,
which I mean, obviously I mean, we could say that about anything, but for us, it's just been an argument started over something stupid for people that don't even know each other.
mm,
But maybe this person mouthed off to the wrong juvenile who runs with a gun. They're just so different than like what we're used to seeing, where you see the gangs and the retaliation, and these ones just really aren't fitting that pattern right now.
mm. All right.
So,
All right. All right. Well, let's get into your analyst badge story then. And for those that may be new to the show, the analyst badge story is the career-defining case or project that an analyst works. So we're going to slightly go back to 2017, which is now eight years ago, believe it or not. This is the case where you got up and got out of the office.
yeah. So I went to a training and I heard another analyst talking about getting out of the office. And obviously, with my previous shoplifting endeavors, I definitely wanted to get out of the office. Sitting at a desk is not like the highlight of my day.
Yeah.
And so I was asked by some of our property crime officers if I would do a stop report for them. So basically, they had a tracker on this guy's car. And if you've ever done a stop report on a tracker for someone who's on drugs, that they can literally drive around for days and days. And I'm not really sure when they sleep. But so I had a list of addresses that this guy that was a suspect in a ton of thefts, we had a list of places that he kept stopping, and I had been tracking this for a while, and the officers came back in and they were like, hey, do you think that you know where he's taking all the stuff? And I said, well, we have a couple options. They were like, all right, well, let's go. And I was like, this is so exciting. And so they let me pick the first location, and the first location that we picked, I have still to this day never been in a location with that much stolen property
Oh, wow.
in it. And so that was kind of exciting because I picked the right one.
So how
Yeah.
did you whittle it down to that location?
So we still went to a couple of the other locations, but
Mhm.
so on the stop report, a lot of the times there would be a couple like burglaries in the area of the
Mhm.
stop report. And then he would go to this house that was way up north from our city. And it was like there was nothing else really around it.
Mhm.
And I just felt like that would be the location that he would take it to, just because there was nothing. Nobody would
Yeah.
see him like coming and going in the middle of the night, really. And there was a few others that were out and about, but he just wasn't there as much as like this one seemed more of a pattern as far as like these burglaries would happen and then he would go to that location.
I got you.
And so we went out there. I'm pretty sure there was more property than a pawn shop. And the house actually belonged to his parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were well aware of what was going on. But so when we went there, they were very welcoming to all of us.
Oh.
And we ended up being out there almost all night going through all of this property.
Did he have it in a room? Was it in a shed, a garage?
It was everywhere. Like the whole basement was full of like power tools and stereos and like all different things. The garage was full. There was a stolen vehicle out in the yard. There was a shop. There was just it was literally everywhere so it's not like the parents couldn't know, right, that what was going on. And my computer ended up dying while we were out there. I mean, we literally were out there. It started snowing. I don't know why all of my stories have snow in them or ice, but it started snowing while we were out there. And I was like, my computer died because my job while I was out there was running the stolen property to see if we could connect it to owners. Mm-hmm. And so they ended up bringing me all their laptops, their patrol laptops. And so I have a photo of me with like 3 patrol laptops as I'm out there trying to run property on 3 different computers to try to get through it so that we could actually leave at some point that night.
Oh man, I just I have different visions of who I think the parents are. Like, it's just like I'm like, yeah, we do it, but hey, we couldn't turn in Junior. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. They were out in the garage, like the dad and like I think the uncle came over because it was like almost like cool, like, oh, the police are here raiding our house. And so like we're in their garage running property and like someone ended up bringing us out pizzas. I mean, that's how long we were there. Like it was a really long time. And like the dad and the uncle are like, do you guys want some beers? And we're like, we're working. Like, I mean, we do want beers, but.
Oh no, that's bad. So, and it's always amazing to me what folks do with trackers around their ankles, right?
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like, I think they just must not believe they work or that anybody's really paying attention.
Yeah, well, I don't know that really anyone is unless like, oh, we suspect them of something. Let's go back and look. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it's the same thing with some of those street cameras, at least in the very beginning. A lot of people didn't believe that the cameras worked. And then they would be caught doing something in front of the camera. And we were like, why why would you do this right in front of this camera? Did you think it was a fake? Yeah. It was this blue light flashing. We're like, we didn't think it worked. I was like, oh, okay. So, but man, that's interesting to see and to obviously track from the hunting zone to the storage area. So the eat, work, and sleep type of thing. Obviously using some GPS and GIS, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It was kind of the beginning of like all of us like going out. And I mean, we do a lot of field work now as far as like property search warrants and I go on shoplifting specials too. And so it kind of was the beginning for me of kind of evolving what my position is.
This is Amanda Wiggins, and my public service announcement for you, specifically analysts, is your decisions, your actions, your work provide good to this world. Know the importance of these things and take pride in doing your best, because it's your best that truly makes a difference.
I'm Mandy Krueger, and this public service announcement is for you. Are you tired? Don't feel like doing that response times analysis? Newsflash, neither do I. Go drink a cup of coffee, grab yourself a dirty soda if you're in Utah, pull your weight, don't be a slacker.
I see here just this past December that you got Medal of Merit for the city of Spokane Police Department. So what was that all about?
I did. So in kind of November, December, we always have an increase in package thefts, which I think is also normal throughout the country as people start getting their Christmas packages delivered. And I would say because of this increase, there's a lot more like online postings as well. Like people are posting like, oh, this guy stole my package. And then you'll start seeing like, oh, I think that's the same guy that stole my package. I had noticed a lot of the same posts. So I started looking into it. A lot of them were north of our city. And then there was a handful of them that were in the city. And so as I started looking into it, I noticed that there was a black Jeep that was associated with all of these package thefts. And so I got on Flock and I went through a lot of black Jeeps. And this one particular was missing a right fender. So that was my focus, was I'm going to find this black Jeep on Flock with this missing fender. And so I'm going through it and I find it, to my surprise, because I'm sure that that's kind of like, it doesn't always happen that way. Yeah. So I end up finding the Jeep. So now I have a plate for the Jeep. So I start investigating the people that are the registered owners of the Jeeps, kind of just, do they have criminal history? Are they loaning their vehicle to a kid? You know, different kind of things to see if I can get a suspect, like a more definite suspect. So I had put out some of this information to our agency in case they had come across this vehicle. And a couple of really awesome ladies that I work with, they were investigating, like this happened like the very night that I put it out too. Like everyone's like always like, oh, everything happens so fast on TV. And we're like, it doesn't really happen that fast in real life, but this kind of did. And so that night they were investigating a bicycle theft that somebody had put a tracker on their bicycle, and they could hear the like, because the person could make like an audible noise with it in this garage. So they went to this apartment garage and they could hear it. So then they obviously got a warrant and got into the garage, and the black Jeep was in the garage. And so they ended up recovering a bunch of the stolen packages from some of the intel that I had put together for them, because they had read the flyer and everything. And I ended up actually contacting a bunch of citizens too that hadn't called to be victims of package theft, because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, why would I call the police? They're not going to do anything about it. But I saw like ring footage, and even though we do have an account, like sometimes people just don't check it or they don't message us back, and so I used Google Maps based on the like radius circle from the Ring doorbell camera, and was able to find more victims so that we could get their property identified as well.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up with, I don't want to get this wrong, but it was like 25 people that we were able to get their stuff back or something. I mean, it's not a huge number, but
hey, that's a big chunk.
Yeah. And so we were able to get their stuff back. Some of it we actually delivered to them, so they were like super happy to get their Christmas presents back and everything. But one of the moms that I had called, I was like, hey, did you have a package theft? And she's like, yeah. We bought my son a scooter, and all of a sudden in the background I just heard him go, like he was just like devastated. He was like, wait, that was my Christmas present. And I was like, oh. So it was a team effort. All of us received, the ladies that found the bike and the Jeep, we received that Medal of Merit together for going above and beyond what our department expects of us too.
Oh, that's a good feel-good story. I like it.
Yeah. It's a good Christmas story.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun too, because people will ask me about it, and I'll be like, oh, well, there was this black Jeep, and they're like, oh, saw that on Facebook. Or like some friends of ours were just like, I can't believe that was you. And then they were like super excited. And obviously It's just nice to actually get people's stuff back. And
Yeah.
really, we got a lot of people were getting on Facebook and social media and being like, the police department contacted me about my stolen package. And so anytime that we can get good news,
You
is a
take
good
it,
thing.
right?
Yeah,
That's
totally.
definitely, it sounds like there's a lot of wins there. And of course,
Yeah.
you're also doing it again in the snow.
Yes, again in the snow. I must work better in the snow. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's probably snowy there half the year, so it's not like. All right, good.
I'm
So what?
distracted by the sunlight.
One of the things that we got talking about in your prep call, the concept that we hear from time to time and talking with other analysts about, like, how do I be utilized, or I'm having analysts maybe struggling with how do they tell the department or tell their manager how to utilize them. And so you were telling me the story, so I wanted to give you the floor and just talk a little bit about that, about establishing, being utilized, and maybe we can even get into some advice that you have for our listeners.
Yeah, so I feel like at conferences, we hear that a lot. I just don't know what to do to be utilized. And I definitely, like, my biggest thing is know your cops. And I don't know if it's weird, but I always call them my cops. I don't know why, but they're my cops. And
Yeah.
so know your cops and know what drives them. So, like, they're all different, right? And some of them are really great at remembering stolen vehicles, and they like to do stolen vehicles. And some of them are really great at at identifying different juveniles that are creating problems in the area. And I feel like when you help them and you know what drives them and you're helping them, that helps them come to you and trust you. You're not just like a name on an email to them. And that's kind of like my big thing is ride-alongs. I know that's not really for everyone, but I do ride-alongs every couple of months, and I try to do all shifts. So if I did a day shift 1 month, in a couple months, I'm going to do a graveyard shift. And I'm going to get to know everybody so that they know me and that they're not like, oh, this lady, she emails me all the time and I don't know her. So why would I send information to her? But if they are familiar with what you do, what you can provide them, they're also likely to help provide you with information as well. So I'll get to know them, and I have them come into my office now and they're like, hey, I was at this house and they were telling me blah, 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 because they knew that I was working on something in that neighborhood and they knew it would be useful because we've talked about that. Because when you do a ride along, not only are you riding with one officer, but then you're sitting at lunch with the entire team. And then you're sitting at roll call also with the entire team. Like I said, not everybody is up to having a ride along. And I was kind of telling you the story about how one of my captains placed me with an officer to do a ride along. He's like, oh, he's great. You guys are gonna do great. And as we're walking out to the car, he tells me in more or less words that he's not a fan of my job and what I do. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh, goodness, this is going to be a long 10 hours together. And so I was like, all right. And we ended up on a call that evening with a bunch of juveniles that I knew from previous cases and he did not know. They wouldn't tell him who they were. They didn't have tattoos or anything. You couldn't do a tattoo search because they're just little kids. And they were associated with a vehicle. And I was able to give him the names and addresses of all the juveniles that were there, and also give him a flyer from another agency where they actually were able to tow the vehicle for evidence in a bunch of crimes that these juveniles, it had to do with like mailbox smashings and like property damage and stuff like that. And they were actually able to tow the vehicle. And so after that moment, I felt like he was like, kind of ate his words a little bit and was like, oh, you do know what you're talking about. And we had a great rest of the night together. And he's a great cop and we work well together now. And so it's just kind of like they get to know that you do know that you have a place here and that you know what you're doing. And so I just think that it's really important to get to know them, like I said, and just know what each of them are good for. You guys can work on projects together. Then they end up also taking you along a lot of the time because they're like, oh yeah, we worked on this together. I'm going to go out on this today. You want to go, Yeah. So yeah.
My vision that I have in my head, and I don't know, did you watch the movie Thor Ragnarok by chance?
My kids are going to hate me right now, but I did not.
Well, I'll tell the story and then you can relay it back to them.
Okay.
But there's this part in the movie where Thor is going to have to battle this big monster that he doesn't know, and then he sees it's the Incredible Hulk. And he gets all excited, like, yes, yes, yes. And he's just like, there's a part that I think it actually was put in for the Make-A-Wish project, where there was a Make-A-Wish person there on set the one day, and he said that he's just like, Thor should say, I know him from work. And so that's the line. They ad-libbed that line a little bit. It's like he's all excited to see Hulk because he recognizes Hulk, and then says, oh, I know him from work. And so I envision when you're on this ride along and you see these kids that you're like, oh yes, I know them. Like I can help.
Yes.
I can contribute. Right. It's
right.
I can imagine the excitement.
Very excited. I was like, oh, me, my turn.
Yeah. No, that's good. As opposed to like the other thing is like if you didn't know them and there was nothing you could do and it was just a long 10 hours.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Fortunately, that went exactly. I think maybe my captain knew that was going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great story. While we're at it, let's talk about advice for our listeners. So in terms of new analysts, experienced analysts, maybe return on investment, what's something that somebody can study now that's going to be important from 5 years from now? Any advice for our listeners?
I would say like something that I think is really important is know your trends, like know your area. Like if you have reoccurring every year, like, so we have a college in Spokane and it's every winter, the kids all leave, right? They go home for the winter for Christmas break and residential burglaries go up. And this was a thing for a while. And it kind of was like, hey, why don't we do a special during this time frame for residential burglary? And the first year that we put it in place, we caught a guy and doing a residential burglary there. And now every year we put that special in place. And so, like I said, when I train my captains, when they come in, I'm like, hey, so we have to do this residential burglary special. And they're like, oh, well, the last 2 years, there hasn't been any residential burglaries in this neighborhood. And I'm like, yes. And that is because we're flooding the area with police and we're allowing the campus security to know this as well. And it kind of goes for like different events that you have as well in your city. We have a big basketball thing at our arena here. And when I first started doing this, they were really big on like, we got to make sure that we're good on all the vehicle prowlings in the parking lot. And then I realized like there were no vehicle prowlings in the parking lot. All the vehicle prowlings were at the area hotels while everyone was gone. And I'm like, so now every year we have these specials at the area hotels, and we were pretty much able this year to eliminate vehicle prowling at all of those hotels.
Nice. And
so I think it's just really important to know these trends so that every year you can be like, hey, this is for this weekend only. We need to focus on this. And this is really important. And I think if you know that helps you look like you know your area. And if you can drive crime down in an area that's traditionally plagued with vehicle prowls or residential burglaries, that's going to be good for everybody. So
yeah, very good. Another great story. Let's talk about NORCAN now. because as I mentioned in your intro, you're a former board member, you're
Hmm.
former VP of membership, and
Yeah.
the NORCAN just recently had their biannual conference here at the end of April. So I
Hmm.
thought, let's just talk a little bit about NORCAN and how the conference went and just some of your perspective of the network.
Yeah. So I love NORCAN, so
Mhm.
I'm glad that we're talking about it. I have met some really awesome analysts. Like my favorite thing about it is just the networking
Mhm.
that we get to do when we're all together. It would be even more awesome if we could get together once a year, but it's a lot of work to put on a
Yeah.
conference. So, and I mean, we pretty much start working on the next conference not long after one gets done, and
Mhm.
it's 2 years out. So we just had a conference in Hood River, Oregon, which is, if you've never been, it's very beautiful. It's right on the Columbia River, and we were blessed with sunshine all week. So so that
Yeah,
was great. Where traditionally there you'd probably get more rain. I don't know that it
Mhm.
snows too much there on the Columbia River. I would
Mhm.
say probably more rain. But yeah, we didn't it was we just had beautiful weather. We had a lot of people from all over the country actually doing presentations. We had people from Milwaukee and New York, and so you'd fly into Portland, Oregon, and then drive east a little ways, and you pass a beautiful waterfall, and I even convinced some of them to maybe skip a couple hours and go hike the waterfall.
Mhm.
And they were just, it was just such a beautiful area. Everyone had such a great time. We got so many compliments, and I really credit a lot of that just to the scenery. And like when you feel good, I feel like everything else around you is going to be pretty good. And I had one guy talking to me about, he's like, this is probably one of the best conferences I've been to. And he was really excited about the fact that analysts talk about analyst stuff after
Mhm.
the conference is over. Like we can all nerd out together on whatever analyst topic we want to talk about. And he's like, I've been to these conferences and nobody wants to talk about any of this stuff. And so I was like, well,
Yeah, no. It's funny. I just realized that I think people don't understand when you're from an area of the country where you have a lot of cloudy days, the fact that
mhm.
you get a week worth of sunshine is a really big deal. I'm from northwestern Pennsylvania, and I know there's always a stat that all my relatives say or something like I think it's the most cloudiest days east of the Mississippi. So I really have this appreciation for those that have so many cloudy days, and then you get this break in the weather, and you have all the sunshine, and it makes me really appreciate the sunshine now that I'm down here in Florida.
Yes, yeah, it's definitely a blessing. We all like walked. We had a networking night at a brewery down the way a little bit, and like a handful of people like walked to it because they're all like, "Yay!" I mean, because we're all the majority of NORCAN members are from Washington State. We do have members in Oregon, Montana, Idaho, other areas in the Pacific Northwest, but it's definitely, you could tell everybody was definitely enjoying the sunshine because they're like, I'm walking. So,
How many attendees did you have approximately?
I believe we are at about 85.
Sure. Yeah.
That's about like what we hope for.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I just got done with my first Carolina Crime Analysis Association conference.
okay.
That had about 100. So
Okay.
I think that's typical for regional associations. From my vantage point, it was interesting being at a smaller conference because that was my first. Well, no, it wasn't my first. It was only my second regional conference that I've ever been to, and so it's a little bit of different vibe,
Yeah.
but it's just as good. And there's so much, as you said, nerding out, talking shop, getting to know people, and seeing old faces and new faces. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's super great to connect with everyone and meet new people, and also see people that you haven't seen in a while. You might talk to them or email them occasionally, but
Yeah.
that's super great.
All right. Did they announce when the next one is?
they did not announce it, but we do it every 2 years. So it'll be in April of 27.
Yeah, but they don't know the site yet.
No, we usually the past couple years have done like a poll and asked
Mhm.
people like, where would you like to see the next conference? So 2 years ago, we were in Boise, Idaho, and then which is a beautiful place. And the police chief told us not to tell anyone how beautiful and clean it was there, but I'm gonna tell everybody. And then Hood River was awesome as well in Oregon. And I know a lot of analysts want it to come back to Spokane. I kind of like getting away because I don't have the rest of the distractions that are in my life. Whereas if there's a conference here, I still got to take care of everything else. So I kind of like it away, but I understand like why they like it here. So that could be a possibility. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, very good. Well, let's finish up with personal interest then. For you, you talked about your kids already. You're a band mom and
Yep.
mom for a competitive dancer.
Yes, I am. It keeps me very busy. So when I'm not here, actually tonight we're getting ready for our annual Lilac Parade. So I have parade practice. So I chaperone teenagers marching through a neighborhood, and we have to like stand in front of streets so that they don't get hit by cars, I guess. And so we have parade practice tonight because we're getting ready for our Lilac Parade here in Spokane. But yeah, that keeps me really busy. We've been to California a couple times for band. They're headed to Florida next April. And then my youngest one, who is 6, just started competitive dance this year, and that keeps me very busy as well. So, and she has a dance competition this weekend. So we just every weekend it's something.
Oh man. As a parent, is there one that's more annoying than the other in terms of band or competitive dancing?
No, the only part of band that I find annoying is like when you go in, like I've helped them do like uniform fittings, and you've got 50 kids playing different instruments, and I don't even know what they're playing. They're not like playing together. They're just blowing on their instruments because it's in front of their face.
Yeah.
And I just always look at the band teacher and I'm like, how do you do this every day?
Yeah.
Like, that part is the only like I guess annoying part. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely when I use a lot of my vacation time to chaperone their band trips because they're usually during the school year, and so it's a whole nother full-time job in itself.
Yeah. And I feel with both of those, it's probably not encouraged that you're a very loud spectator, right? Like it's not like maybe a sporting event where you're yelling and cheering for the participants. Something like band or competitive dancing, you're just sitting back and chilling and watching it all play out.
So that's what I would think, but we were at a dance competition this year and people are like hooping and hollering during the performance, and like if they do this cool dance move, like people are yelling and screaming and you got it, girl. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like it was. So I am not that parent though. And so that's kind of weird for me.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, yeah. Our 13-year-old daughter plays volleyball, and my wife and I are very different. And it is funny that my daughter pointed it out to us. Like they're like, Mom's way louder than Dad. Like Dad, I don't even hear him. And I'm not. I'm obviously in it and I'm invested in it and I know what she's supposed to be doing. So I'm like, I get into it that way in terms of trying to make the point and all that she's trying to do. But my wife's way more in terms of encouraging, in terms of yelling and all that other stuff. But it's
my husband coaches high school basketball, and I would say I am more vocal at that than the other ones. So he's not even out there playing.
Yeah. Very good. All right. So our last segment to the show is Words to the World, and this is where you can promote any idea that you wish. What are your words to the world?
My words to the world are that even though we work in a place where it seems like there's a lot of negative things around us as far as the people that we deal with, there are still a lot of really good people out there. And I feel like never give up hope or expectations that people will do the right thing or be good people. I guess I'm still always surprised sometimes when I hear things, even though I've been doing this job for a while, but I credit that to not giving up hope that there are a lot of good people out there still.
Very good. Will I leave every guest with you giving me just enough to talk bad about you later? But I do appreciate you being on the show, Jamie. Thank you so much, and you be safe.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for making it to the end of another episode of Analyst Talk with Jason Elder. You can show your support by sharing this and other episodes found on our website at www.leapodcasts.com. If you have a topic you would like us to cover or have a suggestion for our next guest, please send us an email at leapodcasts@gmail.com. Till next time, analysts, keep talking.